that was mind-blowing. You made me see an entirely new perspective. What makes a group strong for learning?
Why should the students have all the fun? I'm a learner too. Come up with your own story. It's 5 p.m., teacher, can we go early?
I am because you are, and because you are, I am.
And that's how real magic happens.
Going back to this sense of unity in diversity.
How do you each support each other to get that? Learning isn't just to check a box off of a checklist. Learning is about learning how to respond to the unexpected.
He actually told me that during the exam, he wants to draw. It's the meaning of it. Life is not one size fits all.
There are problems everywhere.
We are prisoners of hope.
So welcome everybody to yet another episode of our podcast on learning how to learn. This is the fourth episode, and it's entitled Learning Together Using Group Strengths to Support Individual Learning Styles. Before I go ahead and start pitching the questions, I would like to relate an anecdote from my personal experience. And that anecdote was created because of Dr. Rob himself. So we were doing a project on collaborative learning in which VCU, Georgetown students were participating. And we came together to see how does collaborative learning work. And so we had a text. Students were asked to read the text on their own. And then they were brought together on 2 or 3 settings in which they had to see what difference did the understanding of the text make once they got out of the comfort zone of their own classroom and sitting with students from another university altogether. And the learning that took place and the way the students interacted, the way I could see that they were developing their understanding, that was mind-blowing for me. It was my first experience. So thank you, Rob. You made it happen, and you made me see an entirely new perspective on the process of learnerization. And this is where I would like to start. What makes a group strong for learning? Rob.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm very moved to hear that, because for me, the fact that you learned something from that was what it's always been about for me in this journey of learnerization, which is that why should the students have all the fun? I'm a learner too. And so if I bring that awareness into a classroom, that it is a group initiative, and we've talked about co-creation quite a few times already, but really to harness that, because in my mind, and what was behind that project was this idea of the strength in diversity. You know, we're living in a political climate these days where diversity is somehow becoming a bad word because it's a liability. And I look at history and I think it's always been a strength. Any truly dynamic system has harnessed the unique parts, brought them together. And for me, this group learning is just about that. Very briefly, last week, I had a class, a literature class. And rather than teaching the stories in the book, I said, guys, come up with your own story. And what, really? I said, yes, you're going to write it and play it. You're going to enact it in a play during this period. The juices were flowing, people were getting nervous and laughing, but right away, we had a director come out, a writer came out, a prop person came out. This was harnessing the gifts and the interests of the individuals. And I wanted to film it. I really wanted to, but it's filmed in my mind because they were so engaged. And when they walked into the class, they were like, oh, it's 5 p.m., teacher, can we go early? And by the end of it, they were like, can we go again? So to me, that's the power of the group, bringing everybody's unique contributions and skills together in a harmonious play. And we all benefit and we all enjoy it. So thank you for that
That's
question.
powerful. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Dr. Akin.
The African word for me here is Ubuntu. Ubuntu is about solidarity, it's about collaboration, it's about collective responsibility. So it's just to have to know that we are in this together. So, and that's very powerful. So I am because you are, and because you are, I am. So that's Ubuntu. So if you can really understand that as and use that as the modus operandi for your class, I think it's going to be swell, as they say in New York.
Wow.
Love it.
Very insightful. Aya?
I mean, powerful affirmations of group work. And it kind of takes me back to group work across disciplines of what you said, right? Because I think within different disciplines, when you're so focused, I mean, I remember some of the advice I got once I graduated, they were like, have a speciality, right? Focus on one aspect. And it kind of took me apart, and all I saw was design in that one lens. But once I was able to understand a little bit of medicine, understand a little bit of chemistry, understand a little bit of physics through collaborations, through implementing other synergies and seeing what's out there, it advanced the own design career, right? Because all these different disciplines don't act in a single entity. They're part of a bigger collective. And so if individuals act as a discipline in one, then where does that collectiveness of synergies in life intersect? Because I think that's what we need, and that's how real magic happens.
Now, as we are talking about a group itself and learnerization through a group, I would like to see and understand how would be able to tap into the strength of a group so that it not only benefits the group, it benefits the individual as well.
So it's about agency. So agency is an affirmation of your humanity as a human being. But you are in this space with other people. So it's about the affirmation of your individuality, but also the recognition that the group is also very important. So it's about going back to this sense of unity in diversity.
Wow,
And
that's
very important.
powerful.
I'm currently taking an art project management masterclass. And one of the part of the institutions, the art institutions, museums, galleries, curatorial, all sort of systems, they do action plans. Now, action plans in the art realm aren't really like action plans in other spaces. Action plans, they look at what is the action, what's the aim, what's the objective, who's handling this, it's really important, who's the party, is it the stakeholder, is it the designer, is it the staff, is it the catering, so who's handling this, and then what's the time span and what is it measured by? And so in action plans such as these of design, it prompts and it begs the question of adaptability and flexibility. Within action plans, you have an outcome, you have a goal and it's set, but you also allow that space for other group strengths to come in. And I think when you look at it in terms of other group strengths to come in within that big scope of adaptability, you find more instances, I think that's really relevant, of looking at all the individuals within every stage and prompting, allowing a space, allowing for a plan that has resource variability, it has flexibility and changes. And when you're able to give everyone, you're able to control it and being able to assign goal spaces, but you're also able to give everyone their own space to have some changes. It is a complex system, but it's also a system that's based on experience and process.
Wonderful. Building on what I just said, Rob, about the significance of action plan in tapping into the strengths of a group, how would you approach it?
Yeah, first of all, I love what you guys are doing. I think that's amazing. And I just have a metaphor for group learning, which is the family. And I think about a loving, harmonious family where everybody has a role and everybody has good intentions towards each other, and everybody's honest about what they need. And what happens there is conversation, right? So when we talk, imagine a day like in our family, being in Qatar, Friday is like family day. So what are we going to do? Who makes the decision? It's a conversation. And that becomes an action plan. So one member of the family really wants to go do some sports. Another family really wants to go shopping. Another family member would like to eat out somewhere, usually me. Whoever, whatever, but we come up with a plan that's going to work for everybody. And once everybody understands that they're all going to get something that they really enjoy, then they can surrender a little bit of their own will and their I have to have it now, so that the group all gets what it needs. And to me, the action planning like that is dynamic. So when I bring that back to the classes, it's sort of like, here's a task. Everybody needs to do something that will help them to grow. Everybody gets a role or responsibility. What does that look like for each of you? How do you each support each other to get that? And what is your accountability loop? And that's really important. The benchmark, how do you know you're getting there? And it's a conversation. I would be lying to you if I said it was just A to B without any strain or any renegotiation. But that's also part of learning, right? Learning isn't just to check a box off of a checklist. Learning is about learning how to respond to the unexpected. And so the action plan, it's like, one of my favorite examples is Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. He says, every plane generally has a flight plan to get from the beginning or the start to the destination. But 90% of the time, because of wind and other things, it's actually off the flight plan. But because it has the flight plan, it redirects, and 99% of the time it arrives. And I think that's what the group learning is about. Having a co-created, co-agreed to set of goals and outcomes, and a commitment to it can allow for the messiness of the trip and all of that incidental learning, and yet still get everybody where they need to be.
Yeah. So Rob, you used the example of the family. Family, okay. So as an African man, I understand that. So I understand the plan, you see. But I think it's also important to understand or to say that within the plan, there can also be interruptions. So you can agree to say, this is what we're going to do, but plans change, people change, right? So we need to keep that in mind as well. So this is not, so we should be very careful about this sense of rigidity in the plan. The plan is good, but the plan is not set in stone. You see, so you also have to think about constant interruptions into the plan.
Yeah. Akin, thank you for stealing my question. That was my next question.
I'm prophetic.
I know that. Just to build on that, a group is a collectivity, which constitutes of individuals with their own proclivities and sensitivities and inclinations and what have you. How do you manage that? How do you manage the different styles of learning within a group? I mean, you have students saying, I'm visual, and another group says that I'm auditory, and a third group would say, I'm kind of kinesthetic.
Yeah.
How do you bring these varying styles into a harmonious whole as a group?
Tolerance. So I've been teaching theology for like 29 years. And this semester, for the first time, I have a student from Oman. His name is Basil. And he actually told me that during the exam, he wants to draw. He wants to draw on his exam, during the exam. And I was like, what's the meaning of this? And eventually, I was able to realize that in that process of drawing, he can actually reflect, can actually think outside of the box and actually do something meaningful during the exam time. So I think it's the ability to be tolerant and to understand that life is not one size fits all. So to the ability to embrace. So it's about embrace. It's not about exclusion. So I think that's important. That's the way I flow. Yeah.
Aya, tolerance is an action of the heart. It's an action of the heart. And the heart gets you to do all kinds of things. But what do you do in practical life? How do you address the difference? What would you do, for instance, if you had, in the master's group that you're teaching, students begging to uphold different styles of learning, and you want to take them up as a group?
So I'm undertaking this masterclass with one named Aisha, and what some of the instances that happens is a part of all these different. So it's an online one, right? And there's a Zoom channel, and so you would assume it's a lecture, but it's quite the opposite. After every single task, there's an activity, and those activities have varied just depending on us. So in some of those activities, it was, get on Miro and do whatever you want. You want to use notes. They were so simple in action, right? You want to use notes to express that. You want to reflect on that concept that I just showed about goals and objectives, do that. If you want to reflect on the concept of SWOT analysis, do it in that way. And she just gave us a channel. And the way that you kind of, again, like a channel of an exam, but the way the student interprets it and is able to actually internalize it and understand it varies. And so I think in classes, having a structure, because a structure is important, right? Having what you want to achieve by the end, right? Critical analysis, you want to achieve a specific understanding or a specific objective. But more important than that is giving that leeway for students to have their own sort of undertaking. And again, going back to the same concept, I think we've brought it up in all episodes, co-creation. And I love the way that we explain it, because we're saying fun, we're saying do it together. We're using words that are more participatory and more of a team instead of and so I think tolerance is really important, because it is a matter of the heart, but it's also a matter of morals and a matter of ethics and a matter of being able to communicate what you want, but also being able to try a different method and see how that works for you and see what works and what doesn't work. So I think it's a lot of trial and error of a process.
You're running out of time. But Rob, I want you to take on this with your final takeaway.
Well, just hearing what Aya said, it really struck me how the beauty of learning is, and I'm building on what Akin also said, the idea of tolerance is also for tolerance for change. So the whole idea, building again on what Aya has just said, and also what Akin went back to, and this idea of tolerance, expecting the unexpected, being able to shift, being agile, being able to take advantage. So I use family as one metaphor, but the other side of this is a company, like a startup, right? Where you come together as a group, sometimes not even knowing each other very well and what you bring to the table, and yet in that conversation, harnessing all of those things that you may share or not share, and how that can be a powerful process. So to give you one very short and concrete example, when you create in a group learning goals, you can do two things. One, a learner talks to a strength, what's something I do really well, and that's something that they're going to bring to the team. And a second thing, what's something that I don't feel confident doing at all, and now I'm going to learn something in that area. A balance of comfort and discomfort, mastery and growth. And then how each piece in that puzzle, how each member can give you what you want. So if I am shy to speak out loud, I'm going to work with our very outspoken member. And if I'm a visual learner, but I don't like to read, I'm going to work with the reader. And we're going to trade off and share our skill sets. And that way, everybody can shine and also grow. I think, to me, that's...
Very insightful.
Yeah, thank you.
Akin, your final takeaway?
So we just need to identify some of the key ideas that resonate throughout our conversation today or in this particular episode, right? Tolerance, flexibility, right? Agility, right?
Agency?
Agency, yeah, and
Adaptability.
An
And
action
hope.
plan.
hope
And
See,
goodwill.
and
right?
goodwill, yeah. So
Not to forget the action plan.
proud the action plan and say that we are prisoners of hope.
And not to break such a positive note, but I also think there are problems everywhere. And there's bounds in any group. And for me, I wouldn't even call them problems. If we change that idea of I'm having a problem and I'm facing you face to face, and I turn that into a conversation, like that's my point of view, what's your point of view? We're able to come to a common ground where no ideas are undervalued. I think that's good. And that, again, it's a voice of giving you agency to speak your word, but also to be able to have a conversation. And
Thank you, friends, for this wonderful and very insightful episode on group learning. I would like to see you in the next episode on a new day at a
Inshallah.
new time.
Thank you.
so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.